Welcome to Power Up. I'm your host, Gale Jones Carson, the Vice President of Community and External Affairs for Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. The aim of Power Up is to take you, our customers, on an inside tour of MLGW to share our programs and operations with you. And by doing so, we can all better understand how we function as your utility provider. Today's guests are Arnisa Davis, she's the Supervisor of Information Services, and Michael Pike, who's the acting foreman in tree trimming, and Ragan Rippee, Kendall, who also works in tree services. So welcome, Arnisa Davis. You are the Supervisor of Information Services, right? So how long have you been with Memphis Light, Gas, and Water?
I've been there 28 years as an employee and 4 years as a student worker.
So you have 22 years with the company.
About 32 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 28 years as an employee and 4 years I worked before that as a student.
Oh, you said 28. Oh, okay, Lord. You 28 years, you must have started really, really young.
I was.
Okay, so Arnisa, please tell us about your journey, especially being tied to the company for 32 years.
Yes.
How did you become interested in MLGW? How did you become interested in IT? And just tell us about yourself.
Okay, a little bit.
Are you a native Memphian?
Yes, I am a native Memphian, and my journey really did start at Melrose High School.
Wildcat.
Orange Mound, yeah.
Well, I went to Melrose Elementary.
Yeah, and I have to start there because I took 2 classes, basic programming, and I also took a wood shop class.
Okay.
And most people would think, well,
wood shop?
Yeah, I know. How did I get in that? Right, but I also attended Lemoyne College. I have my bachelor's in mathematics from Lemoyne, and I have a master's from Webster University in information management. But from Melrose,
both challenging majors.
Yes, yes. And Light, Gas, and Water had a special project that they were doing back then of taking paper maps and put them onto the computer. Okay. And so they were looking for students. So at Lemoyne, they came to Lemoyne. They came to all the area colleges and recruited students. So I worked. They had 3 shifts. I worked there for about 4 years, and then there's a drafting position came up, an address assignment. And because I had took the wood shop class, a woodwork class,
okay.
because you had to do drafting before you build the table, so I was able to say, yeah, I had drafting in school. And then I took the drafting test and I passed it, and I came in to work at Light, Gas, and Water as a permanent employee at that time.
As a drafter? As
a drafter.
So does MLGW still have drafters?
Yes,
they do?
They do.
Oh, do they do the same kind of work today that they did when you started? Or is it anything different? Has technology changed?
Has changed, and in the land and mapping area that I started in, they're not really calling them drafters anymore. They're calling them GIS analysts.
Oh.
So it's the GIS technology, and that's what we were using even back in those days. We were using GIS technology to put those paper maps, that information that was on the paper map, onto the computer. But the technologies have changed. I was a project manager for that project. I implemented the Enterprise GIS, the new product that we're using now, at the company. So
I see why you're on all these Zoom calls and they rely on you a great deal. You got a lot of knowledge and experience.
Yes, when we implemented the GIS, the Enterprise GIS, it allowed us to now have things on our phone, on the iPad, web application, dashboards that we use during storm times. So it just opened up a plethora of things that we can do now to see that infrastructure data.
Well, I know when we have these major storms and we activate the electric crisis team, you're always there, always providing information and making sure we have these dashboards that we need. And so, management's always calling on you. So now, how did you move from drafting to IT?
So how did I move? So what I did was I saw that there was a position that came available a programmer position was on the board, so I bidded on it. And it was actually in the area that kind of worked the project for the GIS technology. And what I did was I sold myself. I was a level 1.
Oh,
I didn't have a computer science degree, but I did take computer courses, and I have a mathematics degree. I'm a mathematician. I love math. And so I just told them, I said, I already know how to use the software. So if I know how to use it, then I mean I'm halfway there. If you have somebody that comes in, you have to teach them how to use it. You have to teach them the business process as well as how to code and develop it. And so they picked me, and that's where I started as a level 1.
So you said something that was key. You said you sold yourself.
I sold
and
myself,
who can better sell us than us?
Yes.
So that's a positive. People, everybody take notes. You got to sell yourself. Nobody can do it better than you.
Yes.
And so, so you moved on to IT. You did programming.
Yeah.
And so, where did you go from there?
So you have different levels in the IT area. So they call them, now they don't call them programs, they call them computer software specialists.
Oh, okay.
So computer software specialist level 1, level 2, and level 3. And then if there's a team leader, which is the business system analyst, if it becomes available, then you can bid on that. So I did bid on that job, and I got that job. And then like I say, during that time as a team leader, I have about 7 people that were under me, that were not under me, but working with me as a team, and that I managed to implement the enterprise GIS. And then I think the Inspire project came, and I worked as a project manager on that particular project as well. And then once that project was completed, they created some other areas. The enterprise resource planning, which John Lehman is my manager, and then he had a supervisor position available, and I was hired as the supervisor.
Well, congratulations on that. So how long have you been a supervisor now?
Since 2018.
2018. Oh, okay.
I did some rotation in the CIS with our customer information system, about a year of that, and then I became supervisor.
So it was good they gave you the opportunity to rotate and get that kind of experience so you can continue to grow and be promoted.
Yes.
So what do you look for when you have open positions?
What I look for, of course, we look for the technology, and if you have your bachelor's degree in either computer science, mathematics, business, if you got 12 hours of computer courses. But I really look for integrity, creativity, initiative, somebody that's going to come in, take charge. I don't have to, sit there and say do this, do this. You have take that initiative, and you're able to create, and you see a situation and try to problem solve. Because we deal with a lot of people. We have our crews that's out in the field that's using our technology. My team doesn't always just do GIS. That's one team that I'm over. I supervise EAM, Enterprise Asset Management, as well as the materials team, which is procurement, inventory, and all of that. So we have everything that crews need. They got to order inventory to get their things in, and then they got to pay for it, and then we got the purchasing department. They may have to buy it, and then when that asset is put into the field, then we got to manage that. We got to do designs for subdivision developers. So we're supporting all the engineers, supporting all the construction crews, and so I'm looking for somebody that can just take charge and run and be a leader, have great leadership skills. So
do you have more from inside or outside? Do you have to have utility experience, or how does that?
No, it's definitely a plus if you have utility experience. We look at some of the different areas. I've hired from inside. Sometimes inside somebody has gone back, like I did, gone back and got their degree. We got that tuition reimbursement. They get their degree, so you give them an opportunity. So they may not come in as a level 3. They'll come in as a level 1, and then you'll have to spend that time training and get them up to par. But a lot of times, if they have that go-getter, that attitude, the problem solver, personality, then they can do well. And I've hired several that have moved up in the ranks, and they're at the level 3 now, and I'm able to give them projects to do. So
you mentioned the tuition reimbursement program. Did you take advantage of that?
Yes, I did. I got my master's with the tuition reimbursement from Webster University.
That's awesome, because MLGW does have good benefits as well as good pay. So what would you, as we close, what would you recommend to those who are watching and or listening as far as trying to seek job opportunities at MLGW?
I would ask that they, you can go out to our website on the MLGW careers, and then there are positions. If you see software specialists, you can apply for those particular things. Look at the look at the specifications of those jobs. If you're still in school now, look at them and see if you want to take some of those classes for those languages. Like we do C# in our area, or Java, or Oracle, SQL.
So they can prepare by looking at our job description, and it'll kind of guide them on what they need to be taking while they're in school. What about internships?
Yes, we do hire internships. Sometimes it's for special projects. We had a lot of interns that came in on the Inspire project, and we have some of them working for me as well.
Oh,
and they're level 3s, and they're running projects now. So yes, and that gives you that business process experience. You'll have the utility experience that you need. So, and we do co-ops as well. So interns or co-ops, yes.
Okay, so thank you, Arnisa, for being here with us today and sharing your journey with drafting and IT.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
How prepared you are for a power outage is the difference between a stressful situation and a minor inconvenience. Make an emergency plan. Pack a kit with first aid supplies, bottled water, and a flashlight, and stay informed using the MLGW outage map on your laptop or mobile device. To report a power outage, gas leak, or downed line, just give us a call. Be prepared and stay connected by using the MLGW app and follow us on social media. A little prep goes a long way. MLGW, serving you is what we do.
Thank you so much for staying with us as we start this segment. My guest is Ragan Rippee, and he's with Kendall Vegetation Service. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So Memphis Light, Gas and Water just bidded its tree trimming services, and there were 3 companies that won the bid, and Kendall Vegetation Services is one of the companies that won the bid.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, well, Kendall Vegetation Services, as you said, I'll give you a little bit of the background, but it was started in 1960 by Warren and Becky Kendall, and that's where the Kendall comes in. But they have since sold the company. We're owned by a private equity company now, but they
kept the name.
They kept the name. I keep the branding. You know, we work. We have around 1,500 employees, so we employ 1,500 employees. We work in 18 states, primarily in the Southeast, but we go, from North Carolina to out to Texas. We've got we work for municipalities like MLGW, as well as investor-owned utilities, and also co-ops or EPAs. But the region that I'm the regional manager of is Region 4, and I cover west part of Texas, all the way down to Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. We got crews, but as you said, hence the name, Vegetation Services.
Let's talk about the vegetation services, because like you said, in the past it was just tree trimming, so now we've gone to vegetation services. So explain it to us, including me.
Right. Well, I guess I've been in the industry 25 years, and we used to be just tree trimmers, but it seems like it's a fancier word, vegetation, for trimming trees. But trees and power lines don't mix. I mean, I live south of Memphis here in Sardis, and I watch Memphis news, and I do see that Memphis has had a lot of outages, a lot of storms come through, and pretty obvious, there needs to be vegetation. They call it vegetation management, and that's kind of your maintenance, where you get out to trimming the limbs away from the power lines. Yeah,
so I understand that about 40% of our outages are due to trees being in our lines, our equipment, or something, but it's tied to trees. So you mentioned trimming the trees back from the line. So how far do you really need to trim the tree limbs from our lines for it to be safe or considered safe?
Right. Well, MLGW will have the trimming specifications and what they want to do, and their specifications is ground to sky, which would mean you want to clear the limbs all the way. So if you looked up, you can't see any overhanging limbs. You imagine overhanging limb, which when a storm comes through, if it's hanging over your electrical conductors or hence the power lines, well, if it breaks, it falls on them and you have interruption in service. So it's different, feet. Sometimes right-of-ways are 30 foot, which would be 15 foot from either side of the pole for a 3-phase line, and some single-phase taps, if you're familiar with lines, it's just one single line and neutral on the bottom. Those may have less width right-of-ways, but I don't know exactly what the specifications are with MLGW, but that's general specifications.
So when do you all actually get started?
We'll start Monday morning, the 28th.
The 28th, that's August 28th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there will be 3 companies. You all will be one of them. So how are you going to divide the county up, the city up? How is that going to work?
There's 3 areas with MLGW, and we've got area 1, which is more the west side, I guess, of Memphis, over close to the river, up to Millington. You know, the map, if they show, I don't have it, but we've got area 1. The other 2 vendors have the other two areas.
So do you have a time frame to get a certain amount done?
Yes, they do. Yeah, MLGW has quarterly milestones for us to hit, and then what their initial what they're trying to achieve here is to get around to a 3-year trim cycle. So if we start here at point A, you know, in 3 years we're back here trimming this again. So you're you know, getting that regrowth and keeping those right of ways clear.
So I've heard of the 3-year plan for a long time. So what's magical about 3 years?
Well, 3 years, it's you know, it's what you call a trim cycle. You know, if you can only get, if there's a huge tree there, if you can only get 6 or 8 foot, you know, trimming without cutting the tree down, say the customer doesn't want the tree cut down, well, it's kind of buying time, you know, because trees resprout, you know, they keep growing limbs back out. Once you cut them, they want to grow back out. So that 3-year cycle, I think, is what MLG is trying to achieve there, is keeping the right of way clear, you know.
So let me ask you this. So we have a lot of trees in Memphis and in Shelby County, and people love their trees.
Sure.
They don't want their trees cut, and they complain about how we trim the trees. So how do you handle that? The way you trim the trees that will meet the needs or make our customers happy?
Well, we trim by ANSI standards, and we also I'm an arborist, and sometimes it's better for the tree versus sometimes, well, I don't want you to cut my tree. You know, say MLGW, our customer wants us to get 10 foot. Well, 12 foot may be better for the tree because you're cutting it back to a lateral, or, you know, it's healthier for the tree, because the tree's kind of like a human body. You know, they heal themselves. If you cut a limb off and cut it correctly on a collar cut, the bark will kind of cover it back up, not leave it open. So, but to handle, the customer love their trees.
They do.
We're contracted, and to get the specifications, you know, to achieve that 3-year cycle, you know, if they push back with us, we would go to MLGW and let them make the decision what we need to do there.
Okay, so you mentioned being an arborist. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's required to do that? To do that kind of work?
An arborist. Well, I'm just a certified arborist. I went to school, but to be a certified arborist, you take a test, but it's basically the science of a tree, you know, and what. Okay,
so the hard job is being a tree trimmer, right?
Right.
So what does it take to be a tree trimmer? Is that what they call them?
Yeah, well, tree trimmers have different classifications. You know, there's different types of work. You know, if you've been around Memphis, you got, you know, you see these utility trucks, they set up in a row with a bucket truck. We do the same thing. If the line's on the side of a road, we have a bucket truck that goes up and trims the limbs right there. Then also you probably see what they call rear lot lines on the backyards. You know, well, can't get a bucket back there, can you? So you have climbers. So you have guys that actually
climb the trees,
trim the trees back at the specifications of the MLGW. But yeah, it's a demanding job, and most of the guys that do it, they love it. It's hot when it's hot, and it's cold. You know, you're always out in the elements, so it's a demanding job for sure.
So is it a very competitive job as well? As far as finding people who are willing to do that kind of work.
Well, surprisingly, we just got here on this contract, and we have filled our positions. But to answer your question, yes, it is. Over the years, finding people to do this type of work has gotten harder.
You filled all of yours.
We have.
Okay.
Yes,
So, well, this segment is about to come to an end. So, what kind of suggestions or recommendations would you have for our viewers or listeners regarding tree trimming?
Well,
as you all began this work on August 28th.
Yeah. Well, for the MLGW customers, we're there. You know, and it's for the better service. Reliability is what the tree trimming is for. You know, it's to increase, to achieve a better reliability. You know, not having outages, not having that limb come in contact with the line. But you know, when you see the crews out, we're going to be easily identified. We're going to look like utility workers. Exactly. We're going to have hard hats on. We're going to have Kendall on the side of our trucks. We're actually going to have our foreman and general foreman, which general foreman kind of runs the whole crew, maybe 15, 20 guys or employees on that crew, and he's going to have a badge that MLGW is going to provide.
Okay.
You know, it shows that we are a contractor for him, so we can show the customer, hey, we're not just here.
That's
you know.
great information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're about to come to a close, Ragan. Thank you so very much for providing this information for our viewers and listeners. And I am going to follow you out for 3 years and see, and make sure you meet those those targets, and make sure these tree limbs are cut like they should be cut for our customers.
Right.
But thank you so much. And
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on getting that contract.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for staying with us, and my guest this segment is Michael Pike, who is the acting general foreman in the line clearance area at Memphis Light, Gas and Water. Thank you, Mike, for being here with us today.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, so how long you been with MLGW?
26 years.
So tell me, how did you get where you are today? I mean, when you started 26 years ago, what were you doing?
I started working in underground construction.
Underground.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, that's the key thing right now. Everybody wants underground.
Right.
So how long did you work in underground?
About 2.5 years.
And then what did you do?
I got into an apprenticeship in the network department. I went through the apprenticeship 4.5 years and become a cable splicer, and I think 10 years later, and here I am.
All righty then. So did you ever do any tree trimming work?
No, ma'am.
You didn't have to climb any trees.
No trees, no, ma'am.
No trees. Okay, all right. So tell us what the line clearance area does.
What we do is we trim the trees away from the power lines to ensure the reliability of the service, electric.
Okay, so MLGW just bidded out its tree trimming services, and there were 3 companies that won the contract. So do we have tree trimmers also in addition to these 3 companies that just won the contract?
No, ma'am.
We don't have our own tree trimmer?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we just contract that work out?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and these 3 companies, they start August 28th?
Yes.
Okay, so who are the 3 companies?
The 3 companies are ABC,
Which we've been working with them for years, right?
correct. Kendall, which is the new contractors coming in town, and Lewis Tree.
Okay, so our goal at MLGW is to get on a 3-year cycle.
Correct.
So will we be able to obtain that goal with these 3 companies?
We feel pretty confident that we can. Yes.
So how are the 3 companies going to work the city? Is it the city and the county that they're going to work,
Yes,
or just the
ma'am.
city? They're going to cover all of Shelby
Yes,
County.
ma'am.
Okay, so how are they? So they're going to divide the county up?
We've got it separated between 3 different areas. Each contractor gets its own area, and we'll start like that.
Shelby County, we love our trees. But from my understanding, about 40% of our outages are tied to trees.
Yes, ma'am.
And so by trimming the trees back, that should help
That
when
will
we
help.
have major storms.
That will help tremendously.
Okay.
Tremendously.
So, but let me ask you this now. I know trimming trees help, but what if the winds are so strong or the ground is so saturated that the trees come up?
There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. All we can do is trim them to our specifications from the power line and hope that no trees fall when a storm comes.
Okay. So you just talked about specifications. So MLGW has its specifications for how far to cut the trees.
Yes, ma'am.
So some of our customers complain about how we cut the trees. So how do we deal with that with our customers?
On a particular single phase line, we cut 10 foot on each side of the line, 23, 15 foot on each side. That gives us our clearances where hopefully in our 3-year rotation that we can get in there before it gets anywhere near the line and affect the power lines.
So we have customers who are really upset with. So we don't confer with the customers on the front end. We just do our job, right?
We try. We give customers notice that we're coming in your area.
They do get notice.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. That we're coming in your area to do our normal routine trimming. And we'll let them know, hey, if you want to remove it while we're in there, we can remove the tree while we're in your area.
The whole tree?
Yes, ma'am. If it follows our guidelines,
Oh, if it
our
follows the
specifications.
guidelines.
We will remove it then. But we do let the customer know we're coming in the area. We just ask that they cooperate and make it easy as possible.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how do you handle, so say for example, I don't have any trees in my yard, but it's trees next door that's all into my lines. So you still, even though it's not my yard, you still cut the tree limbs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you notify customers that you are going to be in their area or in their lane, on their property trimming their trees.
Yes, ma'am. On our unit trimming, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we start August 28th with the new contract.
Yes, ma'am.
And so your area, basically you will be supervising the companies or?
The 3 contractors and inspectors over the contractors.
So is this unusual for us to do a bid for 3 at one time, or have we done that in the past?
We have not. This is the first time we've done this, but we feel really good about it, that we're going to get the mileage that we need in a timely manner.
Wow. I mean, this is the first time with 3 companies. I feel certain, I mean, just based on just that drive right there and having the extra manpower, that within 3 years, I think that we will meet our goal.
Yes, ma'am.
And the companies have divided Shelby County up in 3 parts. And I'm excited about it because
So are we.
I'm really excited about it. And I hope that our customers will be excited about it, and that the 40% outages that we have that's tied to trees, that number should drop significantly. We're hoping.
It should, yes, ma'am. We have some areas now that we've trimmed and went back just looking, and the customers are thanking us because, hey, my
really?
power hasn't gone out in a long time. So, I mean, it helps. I mean,
Oh, well, wow, that's good to hear.
yes, it is.
Okay, so Mike, as we come to a close of this segment, what kind of recommendations or suggestions would you have for our customers regarding tree trimming?
If they had any questions or concerns, we have a phone number that they can call. It's 320-1438, and we're there from 6 to 3:30 in the afternoons. Mm-hmm. And if we're after hours, they can leave a voicemail. Somebody will get back in touch with them.
Okay, so what hours are the trees being cut?
The crews starting on the 28th should be working 10 hours a day, so from 7 to 5:30.
Okay, all right, Mike. I'm going to keep up with the 3-year cycle. I appreciate you coming on and sharing this information with our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Memphis, like gas and water, strives to be a good corporate neighbor. And one of the ways we do that is by giving back to our community. Early on August 7th, MLGW employees lined the halls of our adopted school, Craigmont Middle, to cheer and encourage students on their first day back. The first day of school often sets the tone for the rest of the school year, and employees wanted to motivate students to do their very, very best. Handing out high fives and showing support is a small gesture to demonstrate care and concern for our youth. Thank you for allowing us to share how our employees are helping invest in the next generation.
Share the Pennies needs your change to make a change. You can help ease the burden of a neighbor in need of home weatherization repairs. Your small change is all it takes to make a big difference. You may choose to opt out anytime, but for less than $12 a year, why would you?
I'm in.
I'm in.
We're in!
For more info, visit our website or call 544-6549. All you have to do is care.